All right, so I'm here in Norway in Lyngen Lodge, and I've got a beautiful group of women here, and these women are coming to share with you what their experience has been with Wayfinding Women retreats, because I get a lot of questions from women who don't know me from anything and have never been on a retreat like this. You know, what is it? What is it made of? And do I really want to know these people? So I invited them and they agreed, offered generously to share with you their experience. So I'm going to open it up to you ladies, and however you'd like to.
Well, first, cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Yes.
The Wayfinding Women salute. Yes, toast, toast.
I think that's a great opener, actually, because going on a Wayfinding Women retreat, every little detail down to we have some celebratory champagne to tell our story with is taken care of for you. You don't need to worry about rural details of how do I get there, how do I get here. Your main responsibility is to be present and to show up when it's time to eat and have drinks.
Or dog sled.
And participate. And if you feel that something isn't nudging you into an activity or you have reservations, you can always discuss them with Annie. And if you feel that it's not your calling to participate, that's okay. There's no pressure. So there's an opener for you.
And what I also think is very important is this is more than just going from one landmark after another, one museum after another. It's an immersion into the culture and the customs and the habits of the people. And I came on one of the first ones, didn't know anyone, but I've now got 9 best friends. We just would sit around and talk and chat and laugh until the wee hours. So it's all very open, and it's just fabulous.
I have been on, well, I did a short New York weekend trip with Anne, but then, and Amy was there. But then my first, big trip was to Kenya, and this is my second trip to Norway. And the interesting thing is, first, I like to travel, and I like to plan traveling, and I like to go partly because I like to go off the beaten path. I like to learn about the people. And what's nice about this is I don't have to plan anything. I'm like, what time's dinner again? And Anne has curated these experiences in such a wonderful way. But connecting with the women is a huge part of it. And the group in Kenya, was a different group. And Anne says every group has its own personality. And I can see there's differences between these two groups. And yet you show up, you kind of start to get to know each other, and then before you know it, you are in very deep and sometimes vulnerable conversations with people who just accept you. It's supportive. It's truly, truly a wonderful experience. And maybe you don't click with every single person, but it doesn't matter. You can still share, and you can still learn to love this group of women.
And the other thing I wanted to say is just how seamless it can be. When we went to Scotland, the Queen passed away 2 days beforehand. Everything had to be rescheduled by Anne. Were we aware of it? No. She just did it, and it was seamless to us. It really was.
It's my first trip, and I will be back. I'll probably do a trip every other year, and if I could do more, I would. I love the idea that, again, every detail is taken care of, because Anne does all of that before you show up. So you just show up, and things may change, things may not change, but it's just very fluid and easy. The food has been amazing. So it's not McDonald's or Burger King. It's real, amazing Norwegian food that we're eating. And then we're heading to Copenhagen, so we're gonna have some Denmark food and some Danishes. I'm excited about that. Being my first trip, I had no idea what to expect. And so the women have been very inclusive. Today I did nothing. I sat in a quiet room and meditated and read and called my mom just to say hi and journaled, and that's what I did most of the day. Others took hikes today, went in the snow, went in the hot tub. So you really get to pick and choose what you want to do on some days. Yesterday we dog sled, and the day before we did whale watching. So the excursions are amazing. I highly recommend you try one of the trips because you'll be hooked.
I'll build on the food because we went to a remote glamping sort of camp in Kenya, and the food was just marvelous there. Very, high end, very lovely, oriented towards a little bit of, how the Kenyans eat. And the same thing in Norway. We're at this lodge in this remote kind of village area, and it's gourmet food.
We have two chefs.
And two chefs, yeah. And they, the other thing is, like, we're not always an easy group to please. So in Kenya, we had some dietary restriction people, and they were marvelous in handling that. And here, we've got a vegan, we got a couple vegetarians, some pescatarians, and some people who thought it would be fun to try reindeer stew. And they've accommodated every single one. And I don't know how Anne finds these places. Lots of research.
This is my third trip, and very much like Allison. So I was, you traveled abroad before, but I was 53 before I took my first abroad trip. Traveling in Europe never appealed to me, and Annie and I have been friends for 10 plus years now. And I remember her sharing with me about her dream of wayfinding women and what it would look like. And so when I finally got to my first trip 9 years later, I also didn't know what to expect, and I was blown out of the water. And this is now my third trip. The thing I love about doing multiple trips now is that I get excited for each one, but I'm not exactly sure what I'm excited for. So I go into it really with no expectations, and when I do that, my expectations are just because I don't even know what I'm excited for, but I get blown out of the water. And it's just so precious to be in the culture and immerse yourself in the culture. So here, cheers to you, Annie.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers to you guys.
From beginning to end, cheers.
Yes. When one of the things I would love to ask you is, what was it like to come into a group of women that for the first time that you didn't ever know? So this, for some of you, is going back to other trips, but when you're anticipating going someplace and you don't know anyone, what was that like to then come in, and what was that experience like for you? Because that's a very vulnerable feeling.
It's a vulnerable spot, but normally there is a beginning dinner, and you can get to know people, and all of a sudden somebody cracks a joke, and whether or not you're laughing or not, or then you sit around afterwards with the second glass of wine and just enjoy. But
Loosens you.
What?
It loosens you up.
It does. So I went into it wanting to meet new people, and I met some of the most fantastic people, some that live close to me too.
Yeah.
But
Isn't that amazing? Women come from sometimes the same communities and have not met. And so then the plus is that they get to go back to that same community and get to see them again. But then most recently, there have been two groups. One was Greece and one was, it was the Scotland group, but then adding in people that had gone to Amalfi but lived in the same area. But they come across the country to get together. Yes. And reunite. So it's not just a retreat that happens once and the groups stay connected. And
when I went to Scotland, I was going to leave Scotland and go to Italy to spend 3 weeks with friends. And one of the women I had not known beforehand offered to take home my hiking boots and my winter clothes. Nice. So I didn't have to, travel to Italy with them. And then when we got together afterwards, there was a bottle of Prosecco at the bottom of that bag. So,
how nice.
And we still get together.
And even like you stay connected somehow, and you just have this bond. Even if you don't talk, you have this bond, like a friend you've known for years that you might not talk with very often, but when you get together, it is. And I live in Ohio, and some women who went on the Kenya trip were from North Carolina. And I found myself traveling through North Carolina. So I called them up. I said, hey, you guys free? Could we get together tonight? Coffee tomorrow, whatever? And so they were, let's get back to you. So they kind of worked on it. And then Meg, she goes, well, where are you staying? Because we're trying to figure out where's a good place. She goes, why don't you just come and stay at my house?
Oh,
And so I'm like,
yes.
okay, sounds great. And I was traveling with my daughter,
Yeah.
who was on business, and she goes, well, where's your daughter staying? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about her. You can meet her, but she'll be staying, you know, in a hotel. So like, I just feel like, and I said that at the beginning of this trip, I hope that this trip, I get to know so many lovely people. So when, as I'm prone to do, pass through a city, go, hey, I'm coming, or I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm very spur of the moment, and you all go, great, let's find a place to meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Were there any, for the first times that you guys were going on trips, were there any hesitations or, you know, reluctancies that you,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember before my Greece trip, and Annie, you and I even had a conversation about that because I was a little, what did I do? I spent a lot of money, and you used the term scare-sighted. Because I had never traveled abroad. I didn't have an issue traveling, I just had never traveled abroad. So it was not much scared me, but there was this little trepidation of, do I really need to do this? Do I really need to indulge? And it was so transformative. I mean, I felt like I leaned into that fear, and it brought me to the other side of, I can't believe that there was life without traveling abroad. So yeah, there's so much of the world to see, and I would have missed that.
Yeah. And it's just a different way of, you know, doing it and feeling that you're with other people and supported by other women. And of course, we're doing the mixed groups now. We're doing the all of us groups as well. And they're different, but they're the same in that I take care of all of the details for folks and then provide experiences, and people just, like you said, show up.
The other thing is Anne's a great communicator, so like these places I've been to, I hadn't been to before, so it's like, well, I don't know, what do you need to pack, what don't you need to pack, what makes sense? Months before, we're getting communication from Anne saying, you know, well, the lodge has these boots and these suits for you to play in the snow and do all the winter activities, and so, you know, this is the things you need to bring and this is what to expect. And so there's, I felt, you know, interested because I don't want to know everything, because then you don't have the delight of the experience, but enough information to feel comfortable that I would survive.
Yes. Yes.
I'm used to being in groups of strangers because of my job, so it wasn't a hesitation on who am I going to meet, are we all going to get along. That was not my hesitation, but not traveling with my children or my former husband. He's the one that introduced me to abroad travel, and so I'm grateful for that. But we always traveled as a family, and so this is my trip, my first trip for me, and that was so empowering. My kids were even so excited for me. They're young adults now, but they were excited. Oh my gosh, Mom, you get to do this trip. And there's something about taking care of yourself and coming here. I have no laundry, I have no cleaning, I don't have to cook or clean the kitchen. Again, just show up to whatever magnificent is happening. So if you're on the edge of, I'm not good with people or I don't want to meet new people, give it a try. If you've never traveled abroad, stick your toe in the water and do it, and treat yourself, because it's worth every second and every penny.
Thank you, guys. Is there anything else you want to add? Any last?
If any of them want to call one of us, if you would want to call one of us, let Annie know. And if you don't want to call us, Annie will say, can you call them and reach
email
out
or
to them.
anything.
Yeah.
And if they have questions, that way we can answer them.
Thank you. This is beautiful, guys, and I'm so glad. I love you all being here with me at this time. It feels so beautiful, and it's this energy we were talking about earlier, that when women get together, incredible power, you know, and light and love, and it's just a very unique,
laughter.
and laughter. Oh my gosh, yes, lots of laughter.
We've shared that it's very similar with the all of us. It's different,
Right.
but yet at the same time, people are sharing and laughing and
It's-
you know, really bonding, maybe in a different way because it's
Yeah.
a mixed group versus the way women bond. But
yeah, I'd like to try an all of us trip sometime just to experience that.
Yeah.
And I think probably will.
Good.
I'd like
Yay.
to bring one of my daughters.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
that'd
and
be
that's the
fun.
thing, that all of us isn't just a couples retreat. I was really trying to think about how do we create something for everyone, right? And so what kinds of mixed relationships do we have besides couples? And it's, you know, brothers and sisters and sisters and sisters and mothers and daughters and mothers and sons and cousins. Yes, there are cousins going on the next Greece trip. Yeah. So it is, you know, this is a unique experience that I'm so grateful that I was able to create for people, because this is what I needed when I was, you know, growing up as a woman, I guess. And then we have this opportunity to do this for women and give them that piece where they don't have to take responsibility for anything, really. And if so, if you need something, I remember helping a woman who'd never made flight arrangements before. And I'll do that. I don't normally, you know, I don't make the plans for people. They usually book their own flights, but if you need to, I'm there. And that's, I guess, the part that I want to offer to women that's not typical. So,
Well, we are so grateful for all the effort you put into these trips and just the magical experiences that I think we've all say that we've had.
thank
So
you.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Cheers to you, ladies. Cheers.